Welcome back to Between the Levees. I'm joined today by Captain Dennis Springer II. Got his start about 13, 14 years ago, been in the wheelhouse 11 of those. There is some family history to cover, so we'll get right into it. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Tell me again, you were mentioning off camera just now about your grandfather and your father. Tell me
Yes.
how they a little bit about them, how they found their way to the industry.
Well, my grandfather, he was a longshoreman, retired. He worked on the docks, Union. My dad worked out there for a little while, but he retired at SGS. He was grain elevator, testing chemicals, stuff like that. I think he retired after 35 years. He's been retired for a couple of years. So, inspected barges, chemicals, grain, stuff like that.
Was it always kind of in your mind to join the industry?
No, it kind of just fell into my lap, honestly. Uh, I did 9 years in prison from 18 to 27, and when I came home, I needed a job. I had a few friends that was captains and in the industry, and they said they would look out for me, and I started. And once I started working out there, I fell in love with the industry, moving big product, just fell in love with the whole commerce aspect of it. And just feel like it's always been hidden from everybody, from society. It's just what we do is kind of secretive, but it moves, you know, the country. It's a big part of what we do, you know. So I just fell in love with the industry and then fell in love with the boats and the camaraderie and, the money, of course, starting a family. So yeah.
Well, how did you first find your way to term services?
Uh a friend of mine was a captain. He passed away not too long ago, Bubba Valverde, Leffy. His sons are actually right now in the wheelhouse. Just made it to the wheelhouse. And he was working at Turn Service. So he gave me an opportunity, fill out an application and went from there and started out at Welcome Fleet, on a fleet boat, on a Jolly Roger. And in my bar where I was at before, that was the picture, the Jolly Roger on my bar, you know. So never forget where you came from. And that's how I met Gerald East Jr. and his dad and all their families. And we all came up together. We all decked together. We all got a license together at the same time and best friends. And Gerald East Jr. is my son's godfather. So real tight knit.
Well, I got you. Good to go, man. Yeah, he and I are going to be linking up again, I think, toward the end of the year, with Kenny Brown,
Yeah.
trying to throw something together here. Um, you mentioned in prison, 18 to 27. Walk me through before we get into that, because I do want to cover that in as much detail as you care to share.
Yeah.
But fill me in on the first 18 years of your life. What led you kind of to that?
Uh just, you know, rough childhood, bouncing from house to house. Mom on disability, Section 8, going here to there. And then, just surviving, you know, not really bad. I dropped out in seventh grade, never made it to high school, you know, got all my education while I was in prison, you know, made a mistake, uh, armed robbery, you know, but my childhood was just rough, you know, just mom did the best she could, basically, dad was in and out kind of, but mama tried, so to speak.
Well, what, seventh grade is what, 13?
Yes.
So what happened in those 5 years and
Well, I was
that getting
emancipated. Yeah, I was emancipated at 13, and I was on my own with my older sister, that's 2.5 years older than me. So it was just me and her. She worked at Subway. I did roofing work and little odd and end jobs here and there. Grew up fast, you know, and that was basically it.
Had you kind of fallen into crime, or was that armed robbery thing just a one time and you got caught?
No, it was pretty consistent, just surviving, you know, surviving consistently, messing up, making bad decisions, and just one time got caught up, you know.
Well, at 18 years old, tell me about going into prison for 9 years. I guess the experiences there, if whatever you can share,
Yeah,
and I guess the education that you ended up chasing.
yeah. It was rough, 18 years old, turning 19 in Angola, you know, and then went from prison to prison after that. And my mom ended up passing away before Katrina in 2005 on her way to come see me during visitation in a car accident. So that was rough. I still had like 5 or 6 years left after that. And then, so I enrolled in all kind of trades, refrigeration repair, small engine repair, GED, got as much knowledge that I could. So when I came home, I could try to use it, but I never used it. I fell into the industry and fell in love with that and made that my career.
How quickly after you got out did you end up on deck with Turn?
Uh, Maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Within 90 days, I was there.
Well, fill me in, man. You said the Jolly Roger at Welcome Fleet back in the day.
Yeah.
How was decking with Turn? How was learning? How was the 2.5 years you stepped up into the wheelhouse? So,
Yeah, it was a learning curve. It was getting adjusted to at the same time to build my work ethic because I never had any, you know, and different personalities in the workplace, you know, and just staying to myself as much as I could, and learning what I could, you know. I had some great mentors, some great captains, some captains that wasn't so great that I learned from, you know. But and I met some really great people along the way, like Junior, Gerald. So, it was all, still had that camaraderie today with all them guys. So yeah, it was good. I stayed at term service for 2.5 years, almost three. And right when it became time to get my license, 18 months on the river, I didn't tell anybody. I just went to go get my license. And once I got my license, that was it. You know, I ended up leaving term. So it's a crazy story how it all happened and it all transpired. So I get my little red book, I get my license, and I go to the office and ask them, you know, when would it be my time to get into the wheelhouse? And they said, well, it's going to be 5 to 8 years because it's more like favoritism and this and that. Nobody knew me. Nobody I knew family wise was captains. So that was the hard part. So I was figuring out the whole favoritism thing as I went. And they told me that, and I put in my 2 weeks notice right then and there. And at this time, I had a wife and a kid. So I I left there. I went to the neighborhood bar, the rickshaw, and I wind up meeting a guy there the same day. Met this guy, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. Had a few drinks with him. I wind up paying his bar tab. We sat there and drank for 4 hours. Never knew what he did, and I paid his bar tab when he got up to go use the bathroom. I paid his bar tab, my bar tab. He met me outside, thanked me, gave me his card, invited me and my wife out to lunch the next day, and told me to bring my credentials. Come to find out, he owns XL Marine and National Maintenance Shipyard. Excuse me. He gave me a job right then and there at lunch, and I never went back. I put my 2 weeks turn notice in at turn, and he put me straight in the wheelhouse, training, and never decked again. So it all kind of unfolded, you know. I owe a lot of thanks to him, Bruce McGinnis, you know, for helping me out.
Well, fill me in on your wheelhouse life, training up there, steering and seeing it from that perspective.
Uh, I had a great mentor, Captain Trades Phillips. He works at Florida Marine right now. He's been there forever. Older guy. He trained maybe 6 people in his whole career. I'm the only one he signed off on. Real stubborn guy, but really great, you know, and that's my best friend to this day. And he should be retiring soon, hopefully. But he taught me everything I needed to know. I trained on from line boats to canal boats, you know, to fleet boats. I was kind of versatile with everything and seen a lot. Uh, I stayed with XL Marine for good portion, maybe 3 years until I got my master's, and work got slow with XL Marine. So I went to Marquette and I stayed there for 4 years. And Marquette introduced me to a lot of waterways, to running the loop, to the Ohio, the upper, Brownsville, east and west. So they exposed me to a lot, and, you know, further my career with that, with experience. I left there after 4 years, and I went back to XL Marine. Stayed there for about a year and a half, and then went to Kim Carriers for a year. Great people over there, and I ended up leaving there to come back to Marquette, and I've been here 3 years now.
What's been one of the most surprising things you've seen out there, most shocking maybe, or things you've learned, man?
Uh, I know my boat hit the hit the Mardi Gras world. You know, I wasn't on the boat, but I was head captain of the Steve Reese shoe at the time. I got called in at 2 o'clock in the morning after it happened for that. I didn't witness it personally, but I had to deal with the Coast Guard aspect. Uh, you know, nothing too crazy. You know, a couple high rivers that's been really crazy. We haven't had one of those in a while, but because water's been down so much. But, you know, last 4 or 5 years ago, you know, river getting up to 17 and a half foot in New Orleans, you know, see some crazy stuff, a lot of close calls, you know, but I'm lucky that haven't been too many of those situations, you know. Guess that's where complacency falls in at, you know.
And I didn't ask, did you grow up in the New Orleans area?
Yes, I did.
I know
Yeah.
you mentioned Angola, so I knew it was somewhere in Louisiana, but
Yeah. I grew up in New Orleans, Metairie, Kenner, all the East Bank, you know. Uh, I met my wife right when I came home. Uh, Maybe a week after I came home, I met her, and she wound up getting pregnant after about right when I started working at Turn. She got pregnant with my son, and we stayed married for 9 years. And yeah, so you know,
for those out there that might be listening or watching, that may be going down a bad path, what's one of the biggest things you learned in life, coming out of prison and even in the industry, that maybe help coach somebody on getting their life right?
identifying your work ethic, identifying that somebody's good at something. You know, you just got to find that passion, find what works for you. You know, and stick to it. You know, I believe everybody's got it. It's there's something that somebody's passionate about. You know, and the marine industry, maritime industry, just sucks you in. you know, it sucks you in. It's an adventure every day. It's not the same 9 to 5 job. You get to see something different. And it's just a great career path. I believe the trajectory is going in a place that we've never seen before. That's awesome with Captain Kenny Brown, with Gerald, with all the things that they're doing. You know, I believe it's starting to we're starting to get noticed a lot more. You know, and that's what we needed. So it's something to be proud of, to be a part of that.
Well, I hope I'm doing my little part here with this show, man.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
I,
you as well. It's just getting it out of there, getting it out there, and letting people know that this is, we're on the front lines, but behind the scenes,
right.
and it's just not noticed,
Yeah, no, I grew up in New Orleans, or in Metairie, actually, and I've said it 1,000 times on this show, man. I saw ship stacks passing over the levee and sat on top of the levee and saw stuff, but it just looked like a fantasy land out there or something, just
right, right,
this untouchable thing out there.
yeah,
Um, well, what
yeah,
else can we do?
yeah.
Where did you find my show originally?
Well, I originally found it on Facebook. I believe it was on Towboaters What We Do, like the old page or something like that. And I seen a couple of videos, and then with Gerald, you interviewed Gerald. That's when I started going on YouTube and finding all of your videos and watching them. You know, and you can learn a lot from watching your videos with other captains that got a lot of experience, 25, 30 years, like Denny Palmer, that knows the business side and the navigation side as well. Those guys are real smart, intelligent.
Yeah, I met Denny. I think he was in ops, or he was a port captain when I first got to AEP.
Okay.
But where'd you know him? At Turn?
He was actually a port captain at Excel Marine, I believe, and Marquette. So we kind of found ourselves in each other's path quite a few times. And actually, my first time meeting him, he relieved me off of a boat. So he was the guy, he was a trip pilot coming in, relieving me. So I met him then, and then after that, it was just like consistently, I'm always seeing this guy, became friends and Facebook friends and just, really good dude. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier when you're getting on the boat at the first time, for the first time, how the sort of competing personalities were a little bit tough to figure out. From your perspective now, what is it, 13, 14 years later, uh, how difficult is that for you as a captain?
It's harder now. It's a lot more sensitive. This generation, not speaking bad on them, but it's a little bit more sensitive, and you got to tread lightly with what you do. Back when I came up as a deckhand, and even in a wheelhouse, there was no HR wasn't involved with stuff. It was get this guy off the boat. He's not working. Put him off on the side of the bank. Now you have to have a paper trail. You have to go to classes, sensitivity training classes, this and that, and you just got to be real. Got to tread real lightly. What you do. If not, you'll be the one in trouble. So it's hard. It's definitely challenging.
Well, you said you got to see a whole lot of waterways. What's been your favorite place to run?
I would say running a loop.
Yeah.
Tom Bigby, Tennessee, going all the way up, Cumberland, coming back down. That's, you don't see the same thing twice, in your hitch. So I think that's why it's not the same worn out cattle trail, back and forth, back and forth. It's exciting and peaceful.
And where are you running now for Marquette?
We're actually on the Arkansas going to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I got off in Vicksburg last Wednesday, and they're going up to Arkansas. So I think we're going to be doing that for a little while. My boat is the Lady of Perpetual Help. I'm the head captain on there for the past 3 years, And we don't turn down anything. We don't cry about anything. We get it. We go. You want to go to Brownsville? We'll go to Brownsville. You want to go to Florida? We'll go to Florida. You know, whatever the case may be. You know.
And do you think it wise for career development and personal growth, professional growth, I guess, to have started in the fleets on deck?
I believe so. I believe so. I know Marquette implemented that for a while, and it worked out really well. Before they went on live on boat, they worked in a fleet boat, well, fleet live on boat. You know, like a Darrow fleet, where you're handling rigging and building tows all day, every day. You know, for 12 hours. So I think that's something that needs to happen. That should happen. You know, and that'll start these guys' work ethic, you know, because some of these guys just get on a boat and, you know, we're not doing any kind of tow work for a week. We're just riding. So, you know, cell phones and social media and just eating, you know, not really doing anything, you know, so it just kind of starts a lazy track, you know.
Well, that's not a good place to stop, man. We got to get something else in this conversation. What has been your favorite or most surprising things on this show over the last year or so?
Oh, I guess different knowledge, you know, the different captains, different you've already had like big water, big toe guys to to ditch guys to even office personnel, you know, to the office side, you know, and I think it all plays a major part, you know, especially the office side. You know, I never thought about how hard them guys have it, you know, until a couple of my friends, you know, I see their struggle. And I'm like, man, I don't think I would be cut out for a port captain. These guys don't sleep, you know, and we think they're not doing anything, but they are, you know, nonstop, you know. They keep everything shoreside moving, you know. So yeah, you know, Junior has his thing that he's doing on the side, and actually I'm starting my own thing, captain's crew service, transportation side. So I'm just starting this company. It's going to kind of coincide with Riverbank Professionals, everything like that. And we're just going to do strictly crew changes and groceries for mariners, nobody else. You know, so it's going to be a dedicated transportation company for mariners, you know, and we're going to work all companies that need us, you know. So starting off small, planting a small seed, hopefully it grows, you know.
Well, sounds good, man. I hope to be able to follow along with the development of that and with Gerald's and with Kenny's projects, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an exciting time. Thank you very
Oh,
much. Thank you very much for your time this evening, bud.
all right, man. I appreciate it.
Keep in touch.
All right.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.